you know, you'll fix it next time, or you'll do better next time. That's one attribute about him that I really, for my own person, my upbringing of children, that's something I learned from his life. That's why I said Jesus' life is an example. The other thing that really, encouraged me was how he broke the social barriers of that time. There were people, woman was considered to be a third-class citizen of that time. I mean, there's a story told of a Samaritan woman who would come at noontime to draw water from the well because of the fear that when she sees other women, because she's a Samaritan, other Jews who would come, they wouldn't associate with this woman because she's of ill character. And so she would come in the afternoon. And Jesus came at a time and met this woman and broke the social barrier in two ways. One, a Jewish man never likes to talk to a woman. And second of all, Jesus being a Jew and she being a Samaritan, they would not associate with each other. And so, he broke the social barrier in every aspect. And that's what I liked about him. That when he saw something, he would not he would engage in conversation. He would talk to them, like even the Samaritan woman. He never once told about her ill character. Never once, went into that space. Even though when Jesus told, go call your husband, he said, I don't have a husband. And immediately Jesus' response, I know you have had 5 husbands, and the one you're living right now is not even your husband. And one of the longest conversations Jesus had in the Bible is with this woman who was ill character according to the society, whom people would not like to associate, but Jesus would. That's what I like about him. He never finger points at anybody about their background. He just likes and loves them the way they are. And that's the beauty of this. That's why I say Jesus' life is an example. If I can just look at every aspect, how he handles anger, how he handles people cheating others, how he handles people that are of ill character. In everything there's so much I can learn from his life. And the third aspect I really loved about learning from his life is how he loved people. How he cared for people. He never thought about, what is in it for me, right? And one of the greatest paradigms that he set for me, that I still have a struggle, is something that he said, to love your enemies. To love your enemies. I mean, it's easy, sometimes it's very hard to even love your relative sometimes. But to love your enemy, somebody who hates you, that's very hard. But that's the example Christ has set for me. And so when I look at his life as an example, there are all these elements, there are all these aspects of life that actually shape my character, shape my life. To give you one example, when I was growing up, I always used to, when I'm trying to help others, I always had this mindset, what is in it for me? And I would always approach that way. And if I'm helping somebody, I'm thinking, what is in it for me? This ROI mentality, what is the return on investment? But in Jesus' life, there was always return. There was never something that was expecting anything in return. Right? And that changed my perception. That changed the way I look at things. That changed the way I, look at people and how I help. And if I'm trying to help others, that's something that echoed in my heart. So Jesus' birth is a miracle. Jesus' life is an example. And the third thing I want to bring to your attention is Jesus' death is incomprehensible. Jesus' death is incomprehensible. One might ask, he's the God of all creation. Why did he choose such a wretched life? I mean, why did he have to die such a death? If you look at his death, one of his disciples betrayed him. All his disciples ran away from him. He didn't have a home of his own. When he took his birth, when he had his birth on the earth, there was no place for him. When he died, there was no tomb for him. All his life, he was living in the open. He never had a house of his own. Why? The question asked Why Jesus? Why couldn't you find another way to save mankind? Why couldn't you find it? I mean, why couldn't you have slaughtered hundreds, thousands of animals as a sacrifice to pay for my wrongdoing? I mean, why couldn't you find any other way? Why did you have to die? I mean, it's very hard to picture God being on the cross, being nailed, being mocked, being spat, being punched, and yet, had the compassion to say, Father, forgive them. Why did you do that, Lord? Why did you have to die such a wretched death? And if I had to summarize all of that into one word, it's because He loves you so much that He doesn't want to give up on you. And that love is demonstrated because He wanted to do it Himself. He could have found 100 other ways to save the mankind, but He chose the best. And here is an illustration. I was thinking about how do I paint that picture to you all. If one of our children has a recital or a concert or a sports event at school, and she comes and tells, Dad, I want you to come to my event tomorrow. And I can, find ways and say, honey, I have an important business meeting tomorrow, but I will make sure after the recital, I'll take you to your favorite fast food and we'll have food together. Yeah, she might say, okay, Dad. Or if that didn't work out, the other option I would say is, look, I cannot be there, but I'll send, someone as a replacement for me. But you know what the best thing that she's looking for? For me to be there. Because that's the only way she would be satisfied that the person that she loved the most, her father and her mom, to be there when she is doing the recital. Because nothing beats that, nothing compares to that. And I believe Jesus also did something like that. He could have sent 1,000 other ways to save mankind from all their wrongdoings, but He chose the best. Because He wanted to do it Himself. Because to show how much He loves us. And that's what I say, His death is so incomprehensible. But there is a truth to it, and that is the love that brought everything together. And finally, which is what today, our event, the event we are having today is resurrection is indisputable. So we said His birth is a miracle, His life is an example, His death is incomprehensible, and finally His resurrection is indisputable. There's a difference between resurrection and reincarnation. Reincarnation, as the word says, reincarnate. Re means again, incarnate means in flesh. So reincarnate means in flesh again. Means when you die, you will come back into flesh in a different form, different flesh, and incarnate into a different being. But resurrection is when you die and when you come alive, you're going to be there like that, the same way. The body, whatever features you had, you will come back to life the same way, and you'll be like that for eternity, forever. You're not going to come back into another life. That's the difference. Why His resurrection is indisputable? Because for the last 2,000 years since this event happened, there have been many people trying to disprove it. And the disproof would be something like this. Maybe, the disciples stole the body and buried Him, and then floated this thought that He rose again. He came back to life. And you saw in that video that was shared, the tomb was protected by these strong, muscular Roman soldiers. And there's no way these 11 ordinary fishermen could defend them, defeat them. So that theory doesn't hold its ground. Some people say, did He only appear to the disciples? There were only 11 of them. That also doesn't hold its ground, because it's said in the Bible that He appeared to many people, 500 people, over a period of 40 days. Right? Any of them could have said, that this never happened. Or they could have said, no, it is a lie, Jesus never appeared. None of that. And finally, people say, the disciples probably, they cooked up a story because they wanted to become popular. Even that doesn't hold ground. Because think about them. All of them, all his disciples, eventually were martyred. They were, murdered. Why would somebody, give up their life for a lie? Logically also didn't make sense. So in all aspects, if you look at the resurrection of Jesus, it's indisputable. There have been great conquerors. We've heard about Alexander the Great. One of the great warriors of all time, right? One of the greatest military leader. He went and conquered everything, almost India. Couldn't finish, but he was one of the greatest, conquerors of all time. You look at the greatest philosophers, whether Plato or Socrates or Aristotle. Great thinking minds, great academic scholars like Albert Einstein, or Kepler or Isaac Newton. All of them wrote wonderful theories, great theories, but they all died. Nobody conquered death. But Jesus conquered death. He's the only man recorded who died and came back to life. And so, if I have to trust somebody, I want to trust somebody who said and it happened. These days we have a lot of forecasters, right? Forecasters say it's going to rain tomorrow, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they say it's going to be, the stock market is going to crash. Some people will predict, okay, it's going to crash. We have seen a bottom, now it's going to go up. Nobody has a crystal ball to predict everything to the dot. But Jesus, before he died, he said, in 3 days, I'm going to rise up again to life. Now, if that didn't happen, I could have discounted Jesus. You said it, but look, you're still in the grave. But exactly like the way he said, he came back to life. And so, if I have to pick a role model, if I have to listen to somebody, I want to listen to somebody who is predictable, not 80% of the time, not 90% of the time, not 99.99% of the time, but 100% of the time. Because that is somebody I can take it any day. I can take it to the bank any day. And that was Jesus' claim. Whatever he said, it happened. Whatever he told, it happened. Whatever even one of his disciples, Peter, before he was crucified, he told Peter, tonight you're going to deny me 3 times. And it happened exactly like the way he did, like the way he said. And so he's one, Jesus is, everything that he said happened. And so when he says, I'm going to take care of you, I'm going to love you, I'm going to have compassion towards you, this is somebody who can take him at his word. So that brings me to the closure. So what then? What does Easter tell me? What is Easter reminding me? What is Easter message for me? And here is the message. I just want to quickly summarize and close it. If you feel worthless, if you feel like, I can't seem to find a purpose in life or a meaning in life, Jesus would tell today to you, whoever that is in this room, doesn't matter, come to me. I will change your life like you've never seen before. If there's somebody in this room that thinks that, that can't, that has anger issues or, slip of tongue issues or cannot handle well with relatives or relationships, Jesus says, come to me. I will transform you in the way that even you wouldn't know. And I'm a living example of that. And if there is somebody who's, today the greatest fear of mankind is death. Right? When you ask people, I have a phobia of this, I have a claustrophobia, I have fear of water, I have fear of heights, I have fear of all this. And the greatest fear of mankind is the fear of death. And Jesus tells us today, come to me. some that may have problem with pornography or issues with inferiority complex or temptations of all kinds. And Jesus' message to them this Easter is, if I can overcome, then so can you. And I will show you how. And so if there's anything this Easter I want to leave with all of you is this. Jesus is dependable. He is trustworthy. And your life in His hands will never be the same. And so this Easter, I want to wish all of you a happy Easter. Hope you have a blessed time. And it's one of those events that changed my life for sure. And I'm still learning. I'm still seeing how He changes me every day. And I want to challenge you to try Him if you don't already know. Somebody said like this, if I show you an apple and I say, can you tell me if this apple is sweet or sour? The first response you would say is, Isabel, what would you say? What's that? I don't know, that's right. How can I know the apple taste? Unless I take a bite. Right, Robin? Unless I take a bite. And that's what I want to challenge you. Take a bite of Jesus today. It's a 50-50 chance. It may work, it may not work. If it doesn't work, no big deal. I was the same yesterday, I'll be the same today, right? But if it works, it's a 50% chance. Even stock market cannot be as predictable as that. And so I want to challenge you with that this Easter. Let that message, let Jesus give Him a try and see how your life will never be the same again. Let us pray.